All right, welcome to this week's live Q&A. I am going to be going over gut issues. Some of the questions that I got over this last week that we're going to be covering today is going to be, how to, or why and how to test for food sensitivities. We'll talk about some perspective around that. The second question is lifestyle changes to help gut issues. So, what are those things out there that you can change pretty quickly to make sure that you're not traumatizing your gut and getting that gut to calm down? And the third thing is the third question was, is gluten actually a problem? You hear doctors talk about it, you hear people talk about it, but is gluten actually the problem? Okay. Or is it a problem? Right. So we're here on live on Instagram and also YouTube. So there will be, we'll be sending out a replay of this if you're catching it later on. Again, I'm Dr. Gunyon. If you haven't seen me or heard me before, I have 25 years of experience in health and wellness. And I have been a functional medicine wellness expert since 2014 when my wife got sick. Check out our story. We produced a really nice video about my wife's story and how she got sick and how we found functional medicine, which is root cause medicine, guys. So it's about finding the causes of health issues and not just treating the symptoms. So you can live well, stay well, and not be a victim or trapped in your health. And so today, let's talk about some gut issues. There's lots of people having gut issues out there. Remember, the gut is your immune system. About 80% of the cells that are working in your immune system are in your gut. And so it's when you think of your gut, you want to think of immune system. And if you have gut issues, you have immune system problems. Okay. So one of the things is the first question here is why and how to test for food sensitivities. Why are food sensitivities important? Perspective around food sensitivities is really important. I've seen a lot of poor interpretation when it comes to food sensitivities. Is that I always hear that the doctor said it's just a sensitivity, and that's poor. That's a poor way to put it. What they are really meaning by that is that when you're looking at the difference between food allergies and food sensitivities, a food allergy can be an emergency medical situation where you might need an EpiPen. And so obviously that's an emergency, and we want to make sure that that's not going to happen to you. And so when they use the word just before a sensitivity, the meaning behind that, I believe, in most cases, is going to be that it's not an emergency that's going to put you into the hospital, that you could possibly die, which is important. But saying just a sensitivity devalues how important understanding food sensitivities are, because food sensitivities are signs that foods are causing your immune system to react in your gut. And so you have to understand that interpretation for a medical emergency with food allergies is whether or not you're going to die and you need an EpiPen, which really doesn't have anything to do with health. It's about an emergency situation, which is what medicine is for. That's totally fine. We want that, but when they call it health care, it becomes confusing. It actually has nothing to do with health. Understanding food sensitivities is about health. It's about the stress response. The foods that show up on a food sensitivity test, are stressing your immune system and putting your body into the stress response called fight or flight. And in fight or flight, it actually shuts down your gut. It changes your hormones. It changes your immune system. It can change your cardiovascular system. It can change your metabolism. So understanding food sensitivities has a big ripple effect onto all of your other systems. And so they can be very valuable. And some of the value that I've definitely found for myself and even other people is that there's so many diets out there. Okay. You got the keto, you got paleo, you got vegan, you got vegetarian. There's all of these different types of diet plans that are good, right? They can provide some service, and that's great, but they're lacking specificity for an individual. And so when I do food sensitivity testing, I call them food antigen testing, because that's what we're testing for, are food antigens. But anyways, when we analyze that, then you can see which foods that person's body's reacting to, no matter what type of diet plan you're talking about, keto, paleo, whatever. You get a chance to see that that person's immune system is reacting to this certain food. And if you don't know that, then you have a big blind spot, not only on what's happening in your gut and what's stressing your gut and creating inflammation and triggering your immune system, but also the ripple effect that has on hormones, because I do a lot of hormone work. So one of the fundamental things around hormones is that hormones are always a secondary problem. And a big cause of hormone issues is definitely gut issues and how the gut changes hormones. But so when it comes back to food sensitivities, understand that that they are extremely valuable. They can help you to decipher what do you need to do compared to somebody else. And it's not just about following some diet. You can be following keto, but if you have reactions to cheese and proteins like whether it's uh, dairy, excuse me, cow meat, chicken, whatever, and you're eating lots of protein, but your body's actually having a negative reaction to that food, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So food sensitivity, food allergy testing can help you to narrow down the specificity on what you need to do around your foods. Excuse me. Another thing about food sensitivity testing is it's about you have to have a very complete picture. Okay, so I've had a lot of people get tested and they get skin prick tests. They do food testing through skin pricks. Okay, so they'll go to an allergist, do some skin prick testing. That is not specific enough. So this is a big problem around when it comes to why or how to do food sensitivity testing. Is don't do it through a skin prick. You need to do it through the blood. The blood will actually get you the information about antibodies. Okay, so what we're measuring on a food test is three different areas of function to get a complete panel. Number one, they're called immunoglobulins. Okay, that's the technical term. And they're immunoglobulins E, and that's going to be the anaphylactic type, the food allergy type. And then you got immunoglobulin G and immunoglobulin A. So IgG and IgA, those are the sensitivities. You have to test for all of those to have a complete picture of what's happening with those food allergy components. When the food test is being ran, they are testing for food antigens. Now, an antigen is defined as a toxin or foreign substance that induces the immune response, especially the production of antibodies. So Google that. So an antigen. So whether it's creating an anaphylactic reaction or it's creating a sensitivity reaction, you need to be aware of if that is what your body's doing and understand that it doesn't just have to do with how does your gut feel. It could be about your hormones. It could be about your immune system. It could be about your cardiovascular system. It could be about your metabolism, your mitochondria function. There's so many areas of function that have to be evaluated and understand that the stress response is really important to understand. And that's what you're getting through a food antigen test that's really an immune system test. Okay, but you have to have a complete picture with IgE. That's, again, the anaphylactic side. And then the IgGs and IgAs, which are going to be the sensitivity side. You need to have all three of them in the blood with as many foods as you can, with the right companies, because there are some brands out there that you can order online. Those are not going to be as comprehensive and or specific as a doctor recommended food antigen test. Okay, so you want to have all three of those, again, markers: IgE, IgG, and IgA through the blood, and it needs to be comprehensive and through a doctor. Okay, so this is an immune system test. That's some of the how. That's some of the why. Get clarity on your nutrition. Get specificity there. If your body's reacting to broccoli, don't eat broccoli, right? So in a general world, everybody's like, hey, eat veggies, but that broccoli is stimulating your immune system and your fight or flight response, triggering other problems in your body. So you have to understand that food sensitivity, food allergy testing is much bigger than you've probably heard. And you need to have a definite understanding that just because you don't have an anaphylactic reaction, it doesn't mean that it's not a big health problem, because that's what IgGs and IgAs do, is they stress your body and cause more problems. Okay, so food sensitivity testing. Next question is, what is the lifestyle changes that I can do to help my gut? Okay, so let's talk about some of the nutrition. Here's some big changes. Is stop all the processed foods. Okay, those processed foods have more added sugar, they have more chemicals, they have gluten in them, they have different chemicals for preservatives. It should be eating real food. Real food meaning that is grown in the ground, not processed, and it doesn't need to be stored or can't really be stored on a store shelf because of shelf life. They are perishable goods. If it's perishing within a short time frame, like within a week or so, those are the foods that you want to be eating. Veggies for sure, some fruits, and the meats. You want good, high quality proteins. Okay, we want grass-fed, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and also buffalo. You want free-range, antibiotic-free chicken and turkey. And so you want to make sure that you understand how those animals are being raised, and you want them to be as natural as possible and organic if you can. But sometimes organic means that they're organically grain fed, and these animals shouldn't be getting grain for their nutrition. All right. But when it comes to some of these lifestyle factors, you definitely got to look at the nutrition and take out all the processed foods. Make sure that the proteins that you're eating, the fats that you're eating, animal sources are clean, natural, 100% grass fed, free range, no antibiotics, no hormones. You can email with me questions if you have some more questions around those animal products. I just want to keep this more brief today. The next thing is you want to eliminate all dairy, okay? Cheese, milk, eliminate that out. I would even say take out the sheep milk, the goat milk, the sheep cheese, the goat cheese, that we do not need to be eating another animal's milk. We're the only animal, quotation marks, who do that. And there's a level of unnaturalness to that. And we should be eating and consuming different things, than the dairy, okay? And there are different types of alternative cheeses like coconut cheese that can definitely be more healthy. So eliminate the dairy. And next thing is going to be eliminate the gluten. Okay, gluten is not good for us. I'll cover some more about that and how it's connected to more problems. And then the next lifestyle thing is to eliminate soy. Okay, so soy is genetically modified most of the times, and it can be cause you to change your estrogens. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're eliminating that. No processed sugars. You want your sugar coming from carbohydrate sources like veggies first, and then fruits. And so you don't need to eat a lot of fruit. You can eat berries like blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Those are some great ones. Strawberries. Just make sure that they're 100% organic. Is another lifestyle thing, is that you want to be washing your veggies and fruit in a distilled water, and you can use apple cider vinegar or even white vinegar, and wash those veggies and fruit in those, even if they are organic, just to get any pesticide, herbicide potential residues off of them, get some extra chemical stuff off of them, and make sure that they're clean as possible. Anytime you're eating the fruit or the veggies on the outside of that fruit or veggie, you do want to be washing them and making sure that you're accounting for any toxicities. So, but when it comes to the berries as well, what you want to do is the berries are really good for not spiking your insulin and your glucose, your sugar, your blood sugar in your body, as long as they're not on a food antigen test again. So that's, again, a very important, I think, aspect of understanding is food antigen testing can be very valuable, especially if you have blueberries on your list and you hear somebody like me or somebody else who is saying, hey, eat blueberries because they are high in antioxidants. They're high in polyphenols, which are those different colors, and those are antioxidants of those fruits and veggies, and they can really help with your microbiome. But if they're a food antigen, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot again. So you got to be careful with that. But in general, eating those berries can be very beneficial for your gut microbiome, your bacteria in your gut, the good ones, and then also the antioxidant principles, which is anti-inflammatory, and so they can be helpful. So that's another lifestyle thing. And so definitely a lot now around nutrition. Make sure you're getting your physical exercise right. It doesn't have to be extreme. I would say that you need to lean more towards being less extreme. I see lots of ladies who are having problems, and so they haven't been working out, and so they really try to go crush it at the gym and don't eat very much. And both of those two activities can actually stress their body more. So be very careful with that. Just get some activity and keep it more moderate, especially if you don't have somebody guiding you like myself. If you do, then we can talk about how to specify it to you. Okay. The next thing would be stress. Okay. So emotional stress. Remember, the stress response and emotional stress. Well, there's three different types of stressors, guys: physical, chemical, and emotional. I think when people think of stress, they think emotional first. But whether it's work, relationships, finances, whatever, the conditions of this world, that the wacky world we're in, that if you're stressing your body out, you're going to shut down your gut. It's going to be part of the problem. Okay. So you got to understand how to counteract that. I really love to use exercise for that. Again, just being active. It doesn't have to be anything extreme in the exercise world. Meditation, prayer. These are great activities. And really, meditation can just be breathing. Okay. You don't have to get too crazy with a bunch of music and sitting in a certain pose. Just close your eyes and breathe and just think about your breath and not everything else that's going on in your life and your world. So, don't make it more complicated. Just make the time to do it. Okay. So, exercise, meditation, those are great ways. By eating better, you're going to help take stress off the gut, which can also help with that emotional stress and calm things down. So those are some lifestyle factors there. What would be, I live here in Western Colorado, so I like to get out in nature. And so that's another good way to kind of cleanse your body is to get out in nature around plants, the trees. We do kind of feed off of one another. So those are some lifestyle factors. Be more active, decrease those stress loads, prayer, meditate, exercise. Make sure you're implementing these in. And I think a really good strategy again is you need to write this down into your weekly, monthly calendar and have it written in front of you. I have a physical, actually I have it right here, a physical journal schedule that I write everything down that I do in my day. So that way I'm planning ahead. I know what's going on. But then also I just check off my actions during the day. And so it's like I even have the gym on there. I mean, I exercise no matter what, but I still have like the gym, and I have when I'm going to eat, and I know when I'm doing my work through functional medicine, when I'm meeting with patients, when I'm prepping for patient work, when I'm doing social media stuff, right? So it's all organized, and you really it is a benefit to put that all in detail into a planner, into a week, into a month, and stick to it. And so be disciplined to stick to it. So those are some lifestyle changes that you can make to help and overall help your gut health, right? The third question that I did receive was about gluten. Okay, so you hear a lot about gluten and whether it's good or bad. And I'm going to tell you that with thousands of clinical experiences, I'm going to tell you that I would not recommend anybody do it. Okay, so gluten free, go gluten free, whether it doesn't matter if you're celiac or not, which is autoimmune reactions to gluten. I would take it out. It's not going to serve you well. Okay. Now, some of the different things that you want to scientifically understand about gluten is that gluten has been found through the science about how it contributes to leaky gut. So leaky gut is where your intestinal barrier becomes dysfunctional and leaky, like think of holes in the gut lining, and so that allows the contents to leak into your immune system, triggers the immune system more, which then therefore can affect your hormones and cause this whole cascade of events to take place once you stimulate that. So gluten has been shown to be a contributing factor to leaky gut. And then once it's there, then the gluten leaks through the gut and stimulates the immune system some more. The gluten itself has changed over the years. There's new forms of hybridized wheat called dwarf wheat that we use, and it's genetically modified. And so it's foreign substance when we put it into our bodies. And so it causes a lot of stress response, inflammation, oxidation, and trauma to the cells. And so we got to be close. We got to be very careful about that and understand that it's a big deal. A lot of gluten also contains glyphosate when it's genetically modified. So glyphosate is the herbicide that they put on genetically modified crops and also the wheat. Glyphosate is actually an antibiotic. So it will degenerate the microbiome, all the good bacteria that are in there. So it's going to stress your gut as well. So you're going to want to take out the wheat and make sure you understand that word glyphosate. That's the herbicide from a company Monsanto, and it's a weed killer. Okay, so make sure you understand that that's an issue, and it's antibiotic to the body, so it will cause degeneration to the gut. It also, gluten also contains preservatives like calcium propionate, this has been linked to mood, behavior, and attention problems, and even autism. Okay, so a lot of the little kids, the people that I take care of with autism or on that spectrum, they do phenomenal by getting off of gluten. Okay, so those are some of those lifestyle things initially that we start to work on to make sure that you understand, like, take that out. It's not a fad. These are some of the issues with it, and replace it with more veggies. I'm not a fan of grains anyways, even if you go gluten free. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate, by the way. There's essential proteins and essential fats, but not essential carbohydrates. And with that said, you can live without carbohydrates because your body can break down the fats and proteins for energy as well. But when you are eating carbohydrates, why don't you use the best ones, which would be plants first, then some of the fruits like the berries again, and you do not have to have grains. Okay, so grains typically are less perishable, which means that they last longer as well. So you can store them. So they are convenient. So I get that, but it doesn't mean that they're going to optimize your health either. So I would rather see somebody eating more veggies than more grains. All right. And making sure we got to get good amounts of proteins and fats. And of course, like this has to be very individualized, guys. We need to be individualized on our healthcare because it's not one size fits all. And even these general recommendations that I'm talking about, you can't just take what I say and necessarily run with it. Like this is not medical advice. This is me just trying to help, but you need to have very specific understanding of what's happening with you. And that's what I love about functional medicine is because it's individualized, comprehensive, functional testing to find out root causes, how the body's adapted, what's causing the body to adapt, looking at all the things that cause the body to change, understanding that the changes that are occurring are your body doing the right thing, but we're the ones who keep making the mistakes and the perceptions and the applications and the perspectives and the ideas around how to view and manage our health has been more medicalized. It's more reactive than proactive, and it's very much general. Like there's a lot of general things that you can do, like avoid glyphosate, avoid sugar, don't eat, don't drink soda, stay away from high fructose corn syrup, reduce your stress loads. Like these are things that is very logical, but what I found is that people know it, but then they don't do it. That's why you want to write this down. You want to write these things into your calendar and get some, more advice and perspective from me who sat down with thousands of people and been through these experiences myself with my wife being sick. And I was even disabled at 19 years old with neurological trauma. So I know what it's like to be a prisoner to your body and to have to overcome the odds in a way of getting out of that situation. So that's always what has been what's helpful for me to be a functional medicine doctor is that I've had to live it too. I didn't just read it in a book. To have to figure it out on your own is a whole different thing. I didn't even know what functional medicine was until my wife got sick. But because of that, I've been able to serve lots of people. Anyways, coming back around today, we're answering 3 questions. What? First one was how to test for food sensitivities and why. And we're talking about testing them through the blood, and they are very important because it's also an immune system. It's basically an immune system test that's showing what foods are causing your immune system to react, and then therefore put your body into the fight or flight, sympathetic response, stress response in your body, which has a ripple effect to all the other organ cells and tissues. Okay, so it's very important. But it also has to do a lot with the gut, which is the health of the gut is actually more important than even the food sensitivity. So, but they all go hand in hand. Next thing was what are the lifestyle changes to help with gut issues? What did we talk about? Was to change or remove things in the nutrition like dairy, gluten, soy, glyphosate, processed foods, sugar. What else did we say? Get away from the glyphosate, eat more natural, decrease the stress response, do more meditation, prayer, get more active, get out in nature. This will help to decrease that stress response, which has a lot of impact on your gut. The third thing was, is gluten really a problem? Yes, it is. Okay. Don't mess around with it. Seriously. When you look at food antigens, the half-life on these is about 27 days. So it takes 27 days for your body to adapt to that reaction that these foods are causing. And so you got to give your body some time away from these things and really understand that health is your greatest asset, and don't do things that are going to hurt it. Even if you feel fine right after you do it, how does that impact your health long term? Because a lot of health problems are accumulative. That you're fine, but it's building. You're not addressing the cause. You feel fine, and now you don't. It's like a bucket that finally overflows. And that's when you finally get the diagnosis. And then this is when people want to take their health seriously. Don't wait till then. All right. So If you have any questions or want me to consider your questions for the next week's live or the week after that, or any future live Q&A, I am doing my live Q&As every Wednesday. We have narrowed it down to 12:30 on Wednesday afternoons. That's Mountain Standard Time. And so we'll be doing every Wednesday. If you have questions, submit them to info@drgunyon.com. You can also direct message me or put it in the comments below, and we'll see how we can integrate that into the next lives. But look out for the lives every week, Q&A. We'll be going over different topics. We'll let you know ahead of time. Put it in your book, into your schedule, so you can continue to learn more. What I say, become your own doctor so you can take care of your greatest asset, your health. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye.